Hi everyone, today we are going to talk about the A-Team. It is an American series of 90 episodes over 5 seasons made in 1983, created by Stephen J. Cannell, that I no longer present, and Frank Lupo, who scripted a few series like Hunter and Wise Guy. History. The agency All Risks is a team of 4 soldiers found guilty of a bank robbery in Hanoi in Vietnam. During the war, the robbery was an order from General Morrison, which was intended to hasten the end of the war, but he was assassinated by Viet Cong, who will burn down his quarters. Suddenly there is no more evidence to exonerate our team, and they will therefore escape from prison to become mercenaries and help people who call on their services, but they must remain discreet because they are being pursued by the government. Character. Colonel John Smith, nicknamed Hannibal, played by George Peppard, who died in 1994, and he is the leader of the team. He always has a plan to get out of every situation. He is the only one to listen to Murdoch's crazy ideas. He loves to dress up, and he works as a horror movie actor where he embodies the monsters when he is not on a mission, and his nickname comes from the general of Carthage, Hannibal Barca. Lieutenant Templeton Peck, nicknamed Faceman, played by Dirk Benedict. He is the second of the team and also responsible for money and equipment. He is the one who gathers the team to go on a mission. He is a great seducer and good talker. He gets any information quickly, and he also likes to dress up. However, he does not like hand-to-hand combat. The captain, H.M. Murdoch, nicknamed Howling Mad, played by Dwight Schultz. He's the pilot of the team. He can fly anything that flies, and he's completely mad. He escapes from his veteran mental hospital whenever the team needs from him. He is the only one who is not wanted by the government. He speaks several languages, like Chinese, Spanish, Italian, and many others, and he is always in conflict with Baracus. Sergeant Bosco, Albert Baracus, nicknamed B.A. for Bad Attitude, played by Mr. T. He is the strong man and the mechanic. The team, he can fix anything. He is a very good pilot, but his weak point is that he is so airsick that his comrades have to drug him or knock him out to be able to make it go up in any flying device. He doesn't allow anyone to drive his van, especially not Howling Mad, which he can't stand, and his mom calls him Gentleness. Barracuda's van is a modified GMC and Vandura from 1983. During the series, it will have different license plates, and sometimes the front and rear ones are not even the same. At the heart of a same episode, they also used 1969 Ford Econoline pickup trucks and 1978 Chevrolet Chevy vans to do the scenes of stunt, and the van belonged to Stephen J. Cannell, and he didn't like being touched, so all the interior scenes of the van were filmed in the studio, and it was edited by George Barris, which also made the Ford Gran Torino of Starsky and Hutch, the 60s Batmobile, the pickup truck of the Fall Guy, and Kit in its last season. The smart white Chevrolet is a Corvette C4 of 1984. It was rented to shoot in the series, and they added decals to it, red to remind the van. In 2011, a man put the car up for sale, with papers stating that it belongs to Stephen J. Cannell Production, and that he had bought it in 1987. It only has 20 kilometers on the clock. If it's the real one he has in his hands, it's worth a nice little bundle of money. But now, to see if this gentleman is telling the truth. Anecdote. The madness of Howling Mad is not well defined. It changes to the needs of the episodes. He will even say in an episode to Kelly Stevens, a veterinarian with whom he has a crush, that he is not crazy. In VF, his nickname and looping, which means aerial acrobatics, consisting of a loop in the vertical plane. George Peppard told the media he was relieved the series ended in 1986, because to him it was like a runaway train that never stops. The necklaces that Baracus wears around his neck are really gold. They cost $300,000, and they weigh between 10 and 20 kilos, and every night he cleans them with an ultrasound machine. The producers of the film 2010 asked Stephen J. Cannell to lend them the original van of the series, but he never wanted to, so they had to rush before the shooting of the film to redo an identical one. Actor James Coburn had been offered the role of Hannibal, but the latter did not take it, so it was George Peppard who was taken. Despite all the action in the series and all the shootings, there have only been 5 fictional deaths during these 98 episodes. In the pilot episode of the series, it is not actor Dirk Benedict who plays the role of Faceman, but actor Tim Dunnigan, who will not keep the role because he was deemed too young to play a veteran from Vietnam. So they went back to their first choice, which was indeed Dirk Benedict. In the final season, General Hunt Stockwell will promise that in exchange for a few secret missions, he will set the men of the A-Team back free. George Peppard and Mr. T did not agree at all on the filming of the series. George Peppard was jealous of the success brought to the character of Baracus with viewers. But the situation did not get better when he learned that Mr. T was paid more than him and George Peppard no longer wanted to speak to him. He used messengers to send messages to each other. He even called Mr. T the Goldman. The cigars that Hannibal smoked in the series were real. George Peppard bring them from his personal stock. Hulk Hogan, who starred in 2 episodes, was offered to make his role more recurring on the show, but he couldn't accept as he was already committed to the World Wrestling Federation. According to a Stephen J. Cannell, the writers of the series added battalions of armed force in almost all episodes with extremely spectacular accidents, just to be able to test the realistic limits of the stunts. As a result, we can see cars gliding at the slightest shock and systematically turning over on the roof, with everyone coming out unscathed in each episode. According to Dirk Benedict, production on the show added actor Robert Vaughn, who was a longtime friend of Peppard's, to try to ease tensions between him and Mr. T. The majority of the episodes of the series were shot only 5 weeks before their broadcast on the American channel NBC. The people at NBC didn't like the Howling Mad character, they found him too outlandish and unbelievable within the team, but following the ratings tests on the pilot of the series, they saw that he was the most liked by the viewers, and so they abandoned their idea of removing him from the series. The series was originally imagined by the NBC team, including Brandon Tartikoff. He drew inspiration from The Hateful 12 and Mad Max 2 for mood, and Murdoch's character was inspired by Bruce Weitz and Mick Belker, Captain Furillo. And he was also very impressed with Mr. T in the movie Rocky III, that's why they cast him. The agency's name comes from the U.S. Army Special Forces, which was first used during the Vietnam War. The Alpha Task Detachment was nicknamed A-Team. Melinda Cooley wanted to have more lines of dialogue and action scenes in the episodes, but she was fired for creative differences by the producers. He wasn't very open-minded about strong women back then. George Peppard did not like the actresses who were added to the series, Melinda Cooley and Marla Heasley, and he told them bluntly, and besides, neither of the two was at the end of the series. Hannibal wears several decorations on his military uniform, such as the Medal of Honor received for exceptional war deeds, the Medal of the Distinguished Service of the Army, received for heroic deed, Silver Star received for gallantry in operation against the enemy, Legion of Merit received for outstanding conduct in time of war, and Crimson Heart received for wound in action, and also several other campaign medals. And I specify that I translated the names of the medals in French. The tiger that is sewn on the jacket of Howling Mad comes from the Flying Tigers, who were a group of American mercenary pilots who participated in the Second World War. George Peppard has such a bad reputation for bad-tempered actors that he was told that if he were to be fired from the show it would mean the end of his career, and he still allowed himself to refuse to participate in the European promotional tour with the other actors of the series. In the pilot episode of the series, several references are made to John Sturges' film, The Magnificent Seven. We can see in the second credits of the series a silent Centurion robot from the Galactica series of 1978. It is a nod to Dirk Benedict, who played the role of Lieutenant Starbuck in this same series. In the 10th episode of the first season, we can see a typical French car, the Renault 5, called an America Le car. It will be transformed into a tank by Baracus to confront the bad guys. In the first episode of the 4th season, The Last Judgment, first part, we can see a copy of the Airwolf helicopter. And here is a list of the many guest stars who have passed through the series and who are known in France: Charles Napier, Gregory Lewis, Michael Ironside, Robert Davis, Boy George, Ray Wise, Tia Carrere, Claudia Christian, Dean Stockwell, Sam J. Jones, Lance Henriksen, Dennis Haysbert, Dana Elcar, and Hulk Hogan. Adaptation. The most obvious adaptation is the movie 2010 directed by Joe Carnahan starring Liam Neeson as Hannibal, Bradley Cooper as Faceman, Charlton Copley as Howling Mad, and Quentin Rampage Jackson as the role of Baracus. The places and the times have been modified compared to the original series. Here it starts in Mexico instead of Vietnam, but the general idea remains the same, and personally I liked this film. Moreover, I find it unfortunate that they did not make a sequel. Level Comics. There are 3 issues that were published by Marvel. Between 83 and 84, these are original stories. They have been reissued several times in different formats. There have been other comics published in the UK in Look In magazine on a regular basis from October 84 to March 1987, and for the movie release of 2010, IDW released 4 comics, one per agency hero, and they have released a final issue with the whole team together, called Shotgun Wedding. For the novels, there are a dozen that came out from DEL, which is an American publisher. The majority of the novels take up the stories of the episodes. There are only a few unpublished stories, and there are also 2 special books where we are the heroes, and we can choose the course of the story. And besides, all these books and comics that I told you about are only available in English in France. There only Marvel comics were adapted into French in 2 volumes by Luke Editions in 1983. For video games, there is only one that was released on console. It was available on Atari 2600 and all the other consoles of that time, the Amstrad CPC, MSX, and ZX Spectrum. It is moreover a game with a very particular style. We only play Baracus, and we shoot enemies that arrive in waves. There is also another game that was released on iPhone, adapted also on PC in Flash. There the game has pretty nice graphics. It's a shoot 'em up that takes up the story of the movie. Otherwise, you can find a lot of DLC in video games, like in Lego Dimension. You can play the team. There are also several modes in GTA to add the van and play it. Moreover, it is also available in other car games, but I haven't done the whole list, and there is also a small particularity at the time of the film's release. So in 2010 we could play a promotional minigame on Google Earth where we could drive the van on the 3D map. You can also play the character of Baracus in the game Broforce, which was released in 2015 under the pseudonym of Boracus. And that's about all for video games. The license has not been used much, so there is enough to make a good game of action, toys, and derived products. So their toys level, we are well served. We have the figurines of our heroes as well as their vehicle, and even other vehicles that have been invented so that the kids can have fun. We have disguises the classic adaptation of the van into a small car, Hot Wheels, and in a larger model at 1/24. Moreover, I have the small version from Greenlight at 1/64, and there is an electric circuit from Tycho, a board game, and a magnificent wallet with the image of Baracus and many other things. I believe that they used the license on everything possible and imaginable. Music. The credits music has become cult. It was composed by Mike Post and Pete Carpenter. The French version of the credits is sung by Shiki Levy, and it was also sung by Gnome, and the French lyrics are by Chaim Sabin. You can find many remixes on YouTube. I'll put some of them in a playlist in the description, and I warn you, it's mostly techno. Conclusion. It's a legendary series, and I didn't watch it very regularly. I thought the episodes were too similar. But I still saw a lot of them. I assure you the stunts are not bad, even if the vehicles, which always fall on the roof, and that nobody is injured, was not bad. Cheap, and especially now in our time it becomes a bit nanner. Besides, I believe that we are the worst shooters of all the series of the 80s, combined in this series. Time management is a bit weird. Baracus can build a tank in half an hour, and another vehicle it takes him maybe a day. It's depending on the needs of the scenario. I avoided talking about the rumors of the so-called reboot, because as usual we don't have too much info on it. On the other hand, it is a pity that it is not made following the film. As I said above, you can also find a small parody X if you look well. I let you find, and there is also a magnificent box set DVD in the shape of a cardboard truck, which is available from all good sellers. Well, here I think I have gone through this series. Thank you a lot for the subscriptions, the shares, the shoots, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye bye.